To put it above a 57, is that reasonable? No, but I'm not a reasonable person, so we're going with it where it is. Hey, what's up? It's Randy, and today we're doing an entirely unsolicited microphone tier list. Now you're probably thinking, wow, these microphones really make no sense to be putting onto a tier list together, but here we are, we're doing it anyways. This is basically my opinion of these microphones based on my experience using them in various capacities. I know some of these microphones shouldn't be shot out against other microphones in this category, but we're doing it anyways. It's gonna be fun. And I know that you're not gonna agree with everything that I say here, so let me know how you would list it down in the comments because I'm curious to know where I've messed up in this video. Also, shout out to Audio Haze for coming up with this video idea. This is not my own. Go give Audio Haze some love. I'll link his channel down below. Okay, so let's get started here. Ooh, I'm excited. Why don't we start with something that I know is going to be S tier, and it may come as no surprise, but I'm gonna go with the Neumann U87. We're putting that S tier. If you've ever been in any large format studio environment ever, you'll see a U87 almost exclusively used as the vocal microphone. It's like ubiquitous with every studio. I just don't think there's any way to not say that a U87 isn't S tier, specifically on voices. Like, holy smokes, does it ever sound good? So we're going with that S tier. Again, if you don't agree with any of these, let me know down in the comments. Let's talk about the Blue Yeti. We're gonna go ahead and put this in F tier. It's F tier. I respect that the Blue Yeti made a mark on the industry like 10 years ago. Basically, people were recording with their webcams, and the Blue Yeti was like an incredible step up from recording with a webcam. And for that, I applaud it. For that, it should be C tier. But this is 2023, 10 years, 13 years have passed since it came out. I think it came out in like 2010 or something like that. It's built with modular components. It has honestly way too many features in it for most consumers. Like, my mom does not need a omnidirectional microphone. It's putting too much control in the hands of users who probably don't understand the tools, and also the weird 3 capsule thing that's going on inside. It's not suitable for today's standards, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that F tier. Nobody should be buying a Blue Yeti in 2023. That's just hot take it or leave it. Another microphone that I loved, I used this on my very first album that I ever recorded. I bought a drum mic kit that came with 8 microphones. It came with 2 of these and a few other ones. I recorded absolutely everything on it. I'm going F tier right now, the Samson CO1. A decent large diaphragm condenser. Again, it's one of those things where it was pretty good back in the day, but the self noise in it is just absolutely overwhelming. If you've ever tried to use this in a production and you're compressing, the self noise is just a bit outrageous. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and put that guy F tier. It's sentimental, but I have to be practical about this, so we're going F tier. Universal Audio SP1 condenser microphones. Now I'm just counting this as one microphone, so it's 300 for the pair, so let's say 150 for the microphone. And keep in mind, I'm trying to factor in price with all these too, like price, quality, versatility, or how they work for voiceover, how they work for music, how they work for guitar, etc. So I'm trying to take all of that in and make a list that makes somewhat of sense. I'm gonna go ahead and put this I should say, because we're talking about one, at C tier. The reason being, I think it's a pretty good pencil condenser. Feels really good, the quality of it feels really nice. The sound quality is pretty good, and there was quite a bit of noise with them. They're not the quietest small diaphragm condensers. Yeah, I'm gonna call these C tier. I think they're good. They're definitely not A tier. They maybe could go up to B, they maybe could go down to D. So I think C tier is a good place to start. Moving on, let's take a look at the TLM 103. This one, it's not a U87, so it's gotta go A tier. And then there are a couple other things that make me bump this down. One, we did a voiceover microphone shootout with my wife, and this didn't even make the top 3. It was actually cut. We did 9 microphones, and I think this one was cut like 3rd or 4th. It was just a little bit too bright, we found. And also, if you've ever tried to replace the shock mount on one of these guys, they're like $390 or something crazy like that, the shock mount alone. So I'm gonna go ahead and bump this down to B tier. That might be a bit controversial. I don't think it's a ride or die. I don't think it's a microphone that I need to have in my studio. Good mic for sure. I don't think it's a need to have. So we're going B tier for that. Let's talk about the Electro Voice RA20. This microphone, I'm going A. It's an A tier mic for me. To me, this microphone sounds better than the SM7B in 80% of applications. The SM7B, my favorite application for the SM7B is actually on hi-hats. I think it sounds unreal on hi-hats because it kind of like rolls off that top end really nicely and it makes them so they're not so like kind of in your ears. So I'm sorry for your ears to have to hear that. But the RE20, I think it sounds better on dialogue. I think it's a better microphone. They last forever. They sound really, really good on dialogue. They have plosive rejection. They sound really nice with good proximity. So I'm gonna go an A-tier microphone. I think for dialogue reproduction, and specifically for like podcasting and that sort of thing, it's chef's kiss, like gotta love it. We're going A-tier for the Electro Voice RE20. Okay, let's chat about the SM57. I think that this is an A-tier microphone as well. Leaning towards S-tier, it's very practical. They last for frickin' ever. Everybody should have an SM57. They don't do everything and they're not perfect. So I've gotta go A-tier. I think that they're like obviously an A-tier, maybe an S-tier. So I'm gonna go A-tier. I think that that's fair to say. Let's talk about the SM7B. I'm really torn on the SM7B. So I love the SM7B. I've always loved it. I just hate how much hype it gets. I don't think it's the best application for voices for podcasting and streaming and gaming and stuff like that. It's really good and it's actually expensive. It's like a $490 microphone. Like the SM7B is not cheap. So I'm somewhere between B and C for the SM7B. And I know that so many of you guys are probably disagreeing with this right now, and it's my video. You're gonna have to deal with it. I'm so sorry, but I'll go B because I think C is me just putting it down there because of spite, because I'm like, it's so overrated. I'm putting it in C. I've got to be practical. I have to be pragmatic to the idea that it is a good microphone. We're going with B. Okay, I'm happy with that. We're going with B. Okay, SM58. So here's the thing. I would put the SM58 also in A tier because to me, it's an SM57, but it has a pop filter. They're designing it to fix an issue that the SM57 had, and it makes it more applicable for voice. That said, on voice, I don't prefer the 58 as much as I prefer the Rode M1. Like if we look at these two microphones, look at this. These are the same microphone. They're basically identical. I mean, with the 58, you get 50 years of history, a great reputation. Every sound guy on the entire planet uses them. I particularly like the Rode M1 sound on my voice better. I actually bought 58s and M1s way back in the day, and I gravitate to using the M1 on my voice and the 58 on my wife's voice. So because I like the Rode M1 a little bit better than the 58, I think I have to go 58 in B tier and I have to go Rode M1 in A tier. And I know, again, this is probably gonna be a little bit troublesome for some people, but we're going with the Rode M1 and the 57 in A tier, and we're going with the 58 in B tier. Again, this is my list. I'm so sorry. Yeah, that might be a hot take, but we're going with it. Okay, moving on. I do have one more microphone that I think is S tier out of this list. I'm curious to know if you guys can spot which one it's gonna be, but let's go ahead and jump into the Beta 91A. To me, the Beta 91A is a perfect kick microphone, but it's missing a piece. So it's not perfect because it's missing a piece. That's literally the definition of not being perfect. It does such a good job at like the low subby stuff in kicks, and it also really gets a nice attack if you put this inside the kick drum. There's also a switch on the bottom which scoops the middle a little bit, which I like to scoop the middle with that switch and then add in another microphone to sort of get that low, like let's say 300 to 400 hertz kind of chesty range. It's not like the really, really subby stuff, but it's that low range. So I'm gonna put this mic in B tier. It's better than a UA SP1 condenser. Really, really good at what it does, but it doesn't do a lot of jobs well. There's like almost nothing else that I would put this microphone on. In fact, I think I've only ever used it on kick drum. I don't think it's C tier, so we're gonna go ahead and move on here. All right, next let's chat about the Aston Spirit. I would put the Aston Spirit in D tier. Again, I feel like everything that I do, you guys are just gonna hate it. The reason I'm putting it here is a few things. So one, when you thread on an Aston Spirit onto a mic stand, the thread hole is off center from the center of the microphone. So the microphone spins around like this weird blob around the mic stand. It just doesn't feel nice to put onto a mic stand. I do like that they put the shock mount and the pop filter in the microphone. I think that's really cool. I just found when we shot this microphone out for voiceover, it was exceptionally bright. Like it was sizzle in your face bright. And I didn't like that. And it was missing some of that warmth in that sort of like, let's call it like 800 range, like that lower mids, just that really nice warmth. And because of that, I just can't really get into the Aston Spirit too much. Heard a lot of great things about it. I just haven't heard a lot of great things from it. Ooh. Audio-Technica AT2040, which is a very, very small podcasting mic similar to the SM7B, built like an absolute hammer. It's really tiny too, which I really, really like. Decent plosive rejection, decent sound, a little bit honky I found, around like 500 hertz, kind of like that ha 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 range. I'm going into D tier for this guy. To me, it's not something that I would like to have in my kit, like something like this. It's a weird option to me. It's not as good as like the SM7B. It's like half the price. But it's one of those mics where it's like, just save up and get the better product, you know? I can't think of an application where, like if someone messaged me and was like, hey, I'm starting a podcast, what mic should I get? I can't imagine a world where I would say to get this. Yeah, so for that, I'm going D tier. Okay, next let's chat about my other S tier pick here. Without any further ado, it's this. The Sennheiser MKH50. This I'm calling S tier, so let me explain myself. Maybe it's not fair to put it in the same world as a U87. It is so popular in the film and TV world. Like almost every film and TV production crew are starting to add this microphone to their kit because it just, dialogue reproduction, I don't know if you guys saw my review of it, you should definitely check it out. The dialogue reproduction in like indoor shots like this is just outstanding. It's like my favorite dialogue microphone by far. And what's really cool about it is it's only $1,200. I say only $1,200, but this is like, what, $3,900 or something? So it's also actually advertised as an instrument microphone and it sounds darn good on instruments too. So I've got to put this S tier. I think people are sleeping on this microphone. To put it above a 57, is that reasonable? No, but I'm not a reasonable person, so we're going with it where it is. Okay, I'm recognizing that it's probably not fair to put it in S tier, but no, I'm doing it. We're going with it. It's S tier. It's a really amazing microphone, and I think that you should definitely try it if you haven't yet. Yeah, one of my favorite microphones, Sennheiser, like they just know how to hit a mic out of the park, so I'm really happy about that. Audio-Technica AT4050, 4040 or 4050? I think it's a 4050. I'm gonna put on the screen what it is, 4050, 4040. It's the one that I used on my last test. They have, all their microphones are like 4050, 2040. It's like, there's too many numbers happening. So we're going D tier for this microphone. And I'll tell you why. When we shot this out for voiceover, it had like a lot of weird sort of mid-range, lower mid-range honkiness to it that just didn't sound nice at all to us. The build feels amazing. So actually, you know what? Build-wise, tempted to bump it up a little bit. But we're talking about microphones and sound is what we're talking about. We're also talking about build. We're talking about sound though. It would not be one that I would buy. D tier. Yeah. Okay, AKG mics. We've got 3 AKG mics here in a row. Let's put these where they belong to be. AKG P420 is going in C tier. My wife uses this for voiceover, and a massive chunk of my family's earnings have come from this microphone by virtue of my wife's occupation. It's done great things for us and it sounds great on her voice. She's recorded 10 years of music on this microphone, selectable puller patterns. It's got lots of options. It's relatively inexpensive and I think it's a good microphone. So we're going C tier. I think that's up there with the SP1s. It's reliable. Yeah, it's got a little bit of issues. Yeah, it's not the most flattering sound, but it would be within the microphones that I would consider buying. Anything below D, I'm just saying I probably wouldn't ever buy it. Let's do the AKG C14 XL2, I believe this is. We're going A. We're going A. Selectable puller patterns, really nice build, amazing sound. This was the winner in my wife's voiceover shootout. It just sounded so incredibly balanced throughout all of the spectrum. It was just such a delightful microphone to listen to. Funny enough, I used the AKG C414, not the XL2 version, in school a lot, and I used it on strings. I found it to be particularly bright, and I never really liked the 414. It was always, to me, it was just like a bright microphone that I just didn't like. It kind of lacked that like crispy tube warmth that you usually hear. This surprised me when we used it. It surprised me. Instantly shot up a few notches in my book. And I mean, it's AKG, you can't go wrong. Yeah, we're going A tier for sure. That's a microphone that I think everyone could have in their studio and they'd be very happy about it. And let's talk about the AKG C214. I have to put it higher than the P420, but it's not a TLM 103 to me. It's not a B tier microphone to me. I think we're going C tier for this as well. I know it seems silly to have both of these in C tier. The 214 is undoubtedly better than the P420, but I don't think that it competes with this lineup here. I don't think that it's in that territory. Maybe it is. Yeah, you know what it is. It is. We're going here. We're going B tier for that. The Rode NTG3. Now, for you guys who have followed the channel for a while, you know that I love the Rode NTG3. It's what you're listening to right now above this shot. I have to remove my bias from this microphone and think about it in the spectrum of pencil condenser or shotgun microphones. For dialogue specifically, where does this live? It's not an MKH50. There's also mics like the 416, which we'll talk about, which probably are meh. So meh, this has gotta go C tier for me. Middle of the range price, like $699. 10-year warranty, outstanding. I've had this for 12 years now, and oh my God, like 12 years and it's just kicking. I love it. Use it from all of my videos. It has a nice like 300 hertz bump for kind of getting that broadcast sound out of the voice, which I really like. Yeah, we're going C tier. I think that feels fair. Which brings me to the 416, Sennheiser MKH 416. This one is kind of an easy A tier for me. I mean, it's ubiquitous for content creators. Film studios will have a few of these in their kit. They're kind of at like the bottom of the film world. Like they're not like a Sheps or anything, but they're above anything that most consumers would purchase. Like there are a ton of content creators that use these for dialogue production. They sound fantastic boomed in over a subject that's kind of their desired purpose. So I think that, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and keep that A tier. Okay, and finally the MD421 from Sennheiser. I love these microphones. I think they are slept on for a lot of purposes. I think they sound great on dialogue. They actually have a music to dialogue selector, like a 5-step selector. So 5 ways towards music or 5 ways back towards dialogue. And it's like a slight EQ curve. I have to knock them down a few points because the clip on these is absolutely stupid. You can see I got one on the wall right here. The clip on them is so dumb. It's like a quick release clip. It's too quick in that it falls apart sometimes and the microphones fall off. So we're gonna go ahead and put that down a couple notches for that. It's not an A tier microphone. You don't need to have a 421. It's not even remotely fair to put this in the same comparison as the SP1s. So we're gonna go ahead and put this in B tier. I think that's it. I think I can look at this and I can feel good about myself. The only one that I'm really questioning, two that I'm questioning is this fair? And is this fair? I mean, this is my opinion, right? And my opinion says that I did it right. So my opinion says that I'm also gonna get roasted in the comments. So what does my opinion really matter? But yeah, let me know what you guys think of this, how you would have done it different. I'm curious to know, because like everyone's so different with what they really get drawn to with a microphone, whether it's like form factors, style, sound, build quality, reputation of the company, warranty. I don't know what makes you buy a microphone, or cost obviously is a huge one. I mean, this is my list. I'm allowed to do what I want, right? All right, we're calling it. Have a good one.